All right, Piercy, those are two shitty takes. So you got to give us something stronger than that.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams here. I was actually quite surprised. I think in a good way, trying to think everybody's a good team in the Americans. Obviously they were set up with the first pick for goalie, the first pick as a player, but I feel like they built a pretty solid lineup and team. I think we saw what they did last year. They blew the draft. Yep. Everybody knew their team was going to be horrible last year, and then they made shitty trades to make their team worse.
Yeah.
Going into that last skate, I went and scouted for the podcast. I'm a journalist here. I want to make sure I know what's going on.
Journalistic integrity, right?
Yeah, broadcast journalist over here. And Manny and Antioch were there, and partially they were throwing stuff out to get spread some rumors, but they were talking about Eats in the fourth round, and I was just like, whoa, a couple guys like that. But like I said, they just might have been throwing out smoke signals, and I feel like their team came together really nice when I was scared they were going to totally blow that draft again.
Yeah, I think Manny and Antioch, we can talk about their draft a little bit, but they certainly put in the time. Antioch, I think, was at every evaluation skate, so they put in the effort. They did not make one bad pick. The way that it fell, you might disagree with some of their picks, and we'll talk about that later. But they certainly didn't blow the draft. Again, not to pile on, and I'm guessing the next question is going to be who lost the draft. But it's last year, I told anybody that would listen after the draft that the Americans blow. They took Myers too high, they took Weaver too high. They took Belasia too high. I told anyone that would listen to me, it's these guys suck, and they proved me right. This year, we'll talk a little bit about it, but they did a nice job.
So let's real quick jump over to the Americans. They got Proctor, Antioch, Simonelli might be aligned with Keith, Woods, Sips, Mackey, John Starr, Manny, Edge, AJ with Flo. That's a nice balance for a lineup. I think unlike the Tigers, those positions pretty much fall into place. I know there was talk about Manny going to forward, but he's played defense the last 2 years. He's been solid there. So I think it was a good construction at least.
Yeah, I actually talked with Manny a little bit today. In hindsight, you never know how the draft is going to go. But my breakdown of the Americans is that top line is going to be nice. You got Antioch and Proctor. Okay, they got J-Flow. They have a great decor, with Star, Edge, Powers, and I think ultimately they're going to wind up playing Manny on D. So great top line, great decor, great goalie. They're going to be good. There's no scenario where they're not good. However, that second line is rough. I like Wood, but Sips, Wood, and I think under my scenario, it would be the Salmonelli guy.
Salmonelli.
And even so that he's really going to have to be a steal for them because I think that second line is just going to get pummeled. Because again,
I actually think more so the second line's going to pummel. Yes, I think it's actually they're not even going to be playing that second line like that. I feel like they're going to move Mackey to the second line, play one of those other three guys, the top line, have a true star-studded first line, let Proctor, Antioch, and Wood or Sips or whoever or Salmonelli carry the day, and then just unfortunately throw their second line to the Wolves, kind of like the Deeks did last year with a really good D pairing, and that let J-Flow and the D just kind of get them out of the zone for 2 minutes.
And this is the evolution of MNL because a second line of Ciparoni and Wood and whoever, a couple years ago would have been just fine.
Yeah, great.
But if you look at this year's draft, those guys might be going up against a Gio and a Kimmel, a Dave P and a Peso, a Judge and a Graham. So it's a tall ask. And this is the part of the draft where I said the Americans did not do anything wrong, but with the benefit of hindsight, I think that they should not have taken Starr with that pick. And it's not that Starr's not a great player, but if they would have taken a Cunningham, a Peso, a Ratliff, a Slocum, now they have, a trio, and then they still, with that wraparound pick, they got Powers, they got Edge. Those are two good D-men, and then Manny at D, and they could have picked up another, kind of
D. Guy. They could have picked up Piercy.
They could have picked up an Oliveri,
I mean, even at 56, where Sips was, there were some defensive guys in that level, like a Weaver or someone like that they could have gotten.
So is John Starr a bad pick? No. But I look at this, and last year, trust me, the North Stars, when we were struggling for offense, we tried to put John Starr up at forward. It's just not. He doesn't like to play forward. He's a defenseman, and so
He got a lot of goals. He got a lot of goals his first year in the league. The first 2 months.
Again, I love Starr, and you can't say that taking Starr there is a bad pick. It's not a bad pick, but just looking at the way that team is constructed, it's that second line that's going to make or break them.